crystalline spires of the celestial opera house caught the light of Harmonia, Phi's three suns, scattering prismatic shards across the gathered crowd. Dignitaries from a dozen species milled about the grand foyer, their flowing robes, chitinous armor, and bioluminescent skins marking them as the galaxy's elite. Tonight was the premiere of something unusual, human theater, a concept most considered quaint at best, laughable at worst. Director Elias Vance stood in the shadows backstage, his wiry frame tense as he watched the murmuring crowd through a crack in the curtain. His silver hair caught the dim light, his piercing eyes scanning for reactions. Beside him, his stage manager, Lena Chen, adjusted her headset. "They're not impressed," she muttered. Elias smirked. "Give them time." Out in the audience, Vexis the Analytical, a Zapirian critic with iridescent scales and 6 slender limbs, flicked her data pad dismissively. "Emotional storytelling," she said to her companions, her voice carrying just enough to be heard. "How primitive. We shall see if they can even hold our attention for more than 5 minutes." A Vorac ambassador, Gralk, clacked his armored plates in agreement. "Humans and their dramas," he rumbled, the word dripping with condescension. As if simulated conflict could compare to true battle. Elias' fingers tightened around the edge of the curtain. Head heard it all before. 3 months of negotiations, of begging for this one night, of being treated like a curiosity rather than an artist. The Galactic Federation's Cultural Committee had only approved the performance as a novelty, a chance for the enlightened species to pity humanity's attempts at creativity. Lena nudged him. "They're all here, the Zapirian High Critics, the Vorac warlords, even a few Cerellian scholars. If we blow this, we won't," Elias said softly. The house lights dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd, though it was laced with amusement rather than anticipation. The curtain began to rise, revealing a stage bathed in darkness. Then silence. A beat passed. Then another. Murmurs rippled through the audience. "Is this part of the performance?" Gralk muttered. Vexis scoffed. "Typical human disorgan." A single gunshot cracked through the air. The aliens flinched as one. A spotlight flared to life, revealing a human soldier crouched on stage, his uniform torn, his face streaked with grime. The stage smelled like smoke, like blood, like war. "Hold the line." The actor roared. His voice raw with desperation. "They're coming over the ridge." The alien stiffened. This wasn't holograms. This wasn't sanitized reenactment. The stage shook with the impact of simulated artillery. Dust billowed. The air tasted metallic. Gralk's armored plates clamped tight. "This is excessive." Elias, still watching from the wings, allowed himself a small satisfied smile. "Oh," he whispered, "this is just the warm-up." A Zapirian critic in the front row gasped as a burst of flame erupted from the stage. The heat washing over the audience. One of her companions, a delicate, feathered Zelthian, fainted outright, collapsing into the aisle. Vexis data. Pads slipped from her grasp, clattering to the floor. Her voice was barely audible over the din of the performance. What is this?" On stage, the human actors moved with terrifying precision, their every gesture, every scream, every moment of silence calibrated to punch straight into the audience's instincts. This wasn't theater. This was war, and the aliens, they weren't ready. The lights dimmed completely, plunging the celestial opera house into darkness. A hush fell over the alien audience, their bioluminescent markings casting faint glows across the tiers of seating. Director Elias Vance stood in the wings, his fingers tapping a silent rhythm against his thigh. Backstage, the human crew moved with practiced precision, adjusting props and checking sound equipment one last time. Then the first gunshot rang out. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't a hologram. The sound cracked through the theater like a physical blow, sending a ripple of startled twitches through the crowd. The Zapirian critic, Vexis, jerked in her seat, her antennae stiffening. On stage, thick smoke rolled in from hidden vents, carrying the acrid scent of burning metal and spent munitions. The lights flared back to life. Not the soft glow of stage lighting, but the harsh, flickering strobes of emergency combat illumination. The stage had transformed. No longer a pristine performance space. It was now a war-torn battlefield, littered with shattered barricades and the twisted wreckage of a dropship. Human actors in tattered armor moved through the chaos, their faces streaked with grime and blood, both real and stage makeup. One soldier, a grizzled sergeant with a plasma burn across his cheek, dragged a wounded comrade behind cover as simulated artillery shook the ground. The aliens flinched as another explosion detonated near the front of the stage, the concussion vibrating through their seats. "This is excessive," rumbled Grog, the Vorac ambassador, his armored plates shifting uneasily. Elias smirked from the shadows. "Oh, this is just the warm-up." The play was the Siege of Orion V, a human war drama, so visceral that even the actors had trained with veterans to perfect their movements. Every reload, every tactical hand signal, every pained scream was pulled from real combat footage. The aliens had expected poetic monologues, they got war. A Zapirian in the third row clutched at her chest as a sniper's shot rang out, the actor playing the victim collapsing mid-sprint. The sound design was too precise, too real. The wet thud of the body hitting the ground, the choked gasp before death. "How are they doing this?" whispered a Corellian diplomat, his floating ocular orbs darting nervously. "This isn't theater, this is an invasion of the senses," Elias murmured to his stage manager. "Humans don't just tell stories, we relive them." On stage, the battle reached its crescendo. The human soldiers made their last stand back to back as waves of unseen enemies closed in. The lead actor, Captain Riker, bellowed into his comms. "Hold the line for Earth, for Orion, for every damn soul behind us." Then the artillery barrage hit. The theater shook. Alien dignitaries yelped as the sound waves rattled their bones. A Zapirian critic near the front fainted outright, slumping in her seat as the shockwave passed over her. The Vorac ambassador's plating actually clattered, a sign of distress among his kind. Elias watched, satisfied, as the aliens gripped their armrests, their earlier smirks long gone. They had come to judge now. They were surviving. The stage lights cut again, leaving only a single spotlight on Captain Riker as he stood, battered but unbroken. Over the bodies of his squad, his voice was raw, bleeding emotion. "You think this is just a story?" he growled, staring not at the imaginary enemy but directly into the audience. "This is memory. This is truth." The aliens sat frozen, then the spotlight died. Darkness, silence, a single shaky breath from somewhere in the crowd. Elias exhaled slowly. Intermission in 5. Let them stew. Backstage, the crew exchanged grins. The aliens had no idea what was coming next. The stage lights dimmed to an eerie blue. The smoke from the previous act's battlefield still hung in the air, but now it swirled with an unfamiliar scent, ozone, and something metallic, like alien blood. The human actors moved with practiced precision, their costumes shifting seamlessly from tattered Earth military uniforms to something far more unsettling. Vexis the analytical stiffened in her seat, her bioluminescent skin flickering with unease. The stage now depicted a ruined cityscape, but the architecture was unmistakably Zapirian, towering spires of black crystal, shattered and burning. A lone figure in tattered robes staggered forward, his voice cracking with grief as he spoke in perfect high Zapirian. "By the 7 moons, they're gone, all of them." Vexis data, pad clattered to the floor. Her mandibles twitched in horror. That's the lament of Sixis from the Purge Wars. That speech was never recorded. It was erased from our archives. Beside her, Ambassador Gralk of the Vorac Empire let out a low, rattling growl. His armored plates clamped tight against his body as the scene shifted again, this time to a Vorac battlefield. The actors now wore the jagged carapace armor of Vorac shock troops, their movements unnervingly accurate. One collapsed to his knees, clutching a wound that seeped black fluid. "Tell my brood." I held the line. Gralk's claws dug into the armrests of his seat, the material cracking under the pressure. That was General Korsk's last transmission, before the fall of Vorac Prime. No one outside the Imperial War Council knows those words. A murmur of panic rippled through the alien audience. A Ceralian diplomat's floating orbs darted wildly as the play shifted once more, this time to their history, a secret massacre buried for centuries. The human actors didn't just perform. They became the aliens. Their voices, their mannerisms, even the subtle flickers of pain in their eyes. It was all perfect. Elias Vance watched from the wings, his fingers steepled under his chin. His stage manager, a wiry woman named Lena, wiped sweat from her brow. "Boss, we've got 3 more species to cover. They're already losing their minds out there." Elias smirked. "Good. Let them squirm." On stage, the actors reenacted the Zapirian High Council's secret vote to abandon their outer colonies during the Shith Plague. Vexis shot to her feet, her voice shrill. "This is treason. No one knows about that vote. The records were destroyed." A human actor playing a dying Zapirian elder turned to face her directly, his voice a whisper that carried through the silent theater. "You left us to die. Did you think we wouldn't remember?" Vexis recoiled as if struck. In the VIP box, a Vorac warlord, not part of the official delegation, rose from his seat. His massive frame trembled with barely contained fury. That was my father's last stand at the Battle of Carxis. The humans weren't there. No one survived to tell that story. The warlord's voice cracked. For the first time in his life, the galaxy's most feared warrior sounded afraid. Elias stepped forward, just enough to be seen in the dim light. His voice carried across the theater, calm and deliberate. "You're right. No one survived." He paused. "But the dead still speak, if you know how to listen." The warlord's armored fists clenched. "You dug up our graves for entertainment." Elias shook his head. "No, we dug them up to remember, because that's what humans do. We preserve. We learn." He gestured to the stage, where the actors now stood frozen in a tableau of alien tragedies. "And now so do you." The theater was dead silent. Even the ever-present hum of the Celestial Opera House's climate systems seemed to fade away. Then, from the back of the room, a single slow clap. A figure emerged from the shadows, an Octavian scholar, her 8 tentacles coiled in quiet respect. "A masterful display," she said, her voice like rolling thunder. "You didn't just act our histories, you understood them, deeper than we understand ourselves. But this isn't just about understanding." The Octavian's eyes narrowed. "Then what is it about?" Elias smiled. The encore. The lights cut out. When they returned, the stage was no longer a stage. It was a starship bridge. And the actors weren't wearing costumes anymore. They were wearing Federation and the script they were about to perform. It wasn't history, it was the future. The theater erupted in chaos. Alien dignitaries shoved against each other, their robes tangling, their armored plates clattering. A Zapirian critic near the front dropped her datapad, the screen shattering as it hit the floor. Her bioluminescent skin flickered between panic, purple, and rage. Red. "This is an outrage." Vexis the Analytical shrieked, her voice cutting through the noise. How dare they perform our sacred tragedies without consent? Beside her, the Vorac ambassador Gralk rose to his full height, his massive frame casting a shadow over the scrambling crowd. His armored fists clenched. That was my father's last stand, he growled, his voice thick with something no Vorac ever admitted to, grief. That battle was classified. The humans should not know those words, those final moments. A Cerealian diplomat nearby pulsed with distress, their floating orbs dimming. They reenacted the fall of Vorac Prime with perfect accuracy. The screams, the last transmission. How is this possible? Backstage, director Elias Vance watched the pandemonium through a crack in the curtain. His stage manager, a wiry woman named Lena, gripped his arm. Elias, we've got 3 Zapirians hyperventilating. A Vorac warlord looks 2 seconds from charging the stage, and I'm pretty sure that Thalassian just melted from emotional overload. Elias didn't flinch. Good, means they're paying attention. On the other side of the theater, a group of panicked aliens rushed for the exits, only to find the doors sealed. A Zapirian in flowing silver robes slammed his fist against the unyielding crystal. Open, open. The lights cut out. Total darkness. Then, a single spotlight blazed to life, illuminating Elias standing center stage. The murmurs died instantly. Every alien eye locked onto him. Ladies and gentlemen, Elias said, his voice calm, almost amused. You came to judge human theater, to critique our primitive emotional displays. He spread his hands. Now, you feel it. A ripple of outrage. Grulk took a threatening step forward. This was never about art. The Vorac ambassador snarled. This is a psychological operation. Elias tilted his head. Is there a difference? The spotlight widened, revealing the human actors still in position, but now their costumes had changed. No longer dressed as fallen warriors or grieving rulers, they wore Federation uniforms. Vexis gasped. Those are current fleet insignia. That's Admiral Crick's exact command insignia. Elias smiled. Act 3 begins now. The stage transformed. The backdrop flickered to life, displaying a real-time star map of the Cygnus sector. Alien murmurs turned to shouts as they recognized fleet positions, supply routes, secret staging grounds. A Thalassian diplomat recoiled. That's the Kashar Enclave. That system is hidden. Grulk whirled on Elias. You're not predicting our moves. You're reading them. Elias didn't deny it. He simply raised a hand. The actors moved in perfect sync, reciting lines that weren't scripted. They were live. Admiral Crix will order the Faith Fleet to flank the Turellian border at Phase Standard, said the actor playing Crix. The Zapirian High Council will veto the trade sanctions, said another, mimicking Chancellor Vrel's exact cadence. Vex's skin went pale. How are they doing this? How? Lena, still backstage, smirked. Turns out, humans are really good at 2 things, acting and espionage. The Vorac warlord in the audience, the one who had recognized his father's last stand, suddenly sank to his knees. His voice, when it came, was hollow. Enough, enough, I yield. Silence then. One by one, other aliens followed. A Zapirian critic lowered his head. A Cerealian diplomat's orbs dimmed in submission. Elias let the moment stretch. Then, softly, now you understand. You came to review our art, but art is just truth in disguise. Vexis, trembling, met his gaze. We underestimated you. Elias smiled. Everyone does. The doors unlocked with a quiet click. No one moved. The theater plunged into darkness. A single spotlight snapped on, illuminating Elias Vance at center stage. His grin was razor. Sharp, Act 3 begins now. The stage shuddered. Panels slid away, revealing a towering holographic starship bridge. Not a recreation, but a perfect mirror of the Federation's own command centers. Human actors moved with precision, their uniforms crisp, their voices clipped with military cadence. Grulk's armored plates clattered as he surged to his feet. That's our tactical display. On stage, an actor playing a Vorac admiral snarled into a comms unit. All wings converge on Sector Theta, Phi. The humans won't expect. The real Grolk roared. That's our current operation. The actors continued, unfazed. A human admiral leaned over the holographic table. They'll flank from the nebula, deploy mines here. Vexis' bioluminescent stripes flickered erratically. She clawed at her data, pad pulling up classified fleet logs. This is tomorrow's maneuver. How are they? Elias' voice cut through the chaos. You always wondered why humans study art, why we obsess over stories. He spread his arms. It's because life is a performance, and his smile turned lethal. We learn the script before anyone else. The actors shifted scenes. Now they stood in the Zapirian High Council chambers. An actor playing Vexis' superior hissed. The humans suspect nothing. Proceed with the embargo. Vexis' frills flattened against her skull. That meeting was shielded. No record exists. On stage, the human ambassador smirked. Oh, we know. The theater trembled as simulated explosions rocked the holographic fleet. The actors moved like prophets, predicting every alien stratagem before the real commanders had even given the orders. Grolk's massive fists clenched. This isn't theater, this is espionage. Elias chuckled. No, it's humanity. A Vorac warlord in the audience suddenly staggered. His voice was hollow. They're not just predicting our moves. He pointed at the stage, where actors reenacted a Vorac betrayal, one that hadn't happened yet. They're guiding them. Silence then. Panic. Aliens scrambled for the doors, but the locks held. A Zapirian diplomat shrieked as the actors changed their performance mid-scene, reacting live to the audience's movements. Vexis whirled on Elias. You're adjusting the play based on our reactions. Elias bowed. Bravo took you long enough. On stage, the human admiral turned to face the crowd. His words were soft, deadly. You see, we don't just predict, we control. Grolk's armored body quaked. He took one step forward, then kneeled. Enough. His voice was raw. I yield. The actors froze. The holograms flickered out. Elias stepped into the spotlight. You came to judge human art. His eyes burned. Now you understand. Our greatest weapon isn't steel, it's story. Vexis data. Pad clattered to the floor. Her voice was a whisper. We have to warn the Federation. Elias laughed. Oh, Vexis, he gestured to the stage where the actors now bowed. They're already watching. High above, hidden in the theater's rafters, 100 human operatives lowered their surveillance drones. Their feeds streamed live to Earth Command. The real performance had only just begun. The theater was utterly silent. Not a single whisper, not a rustle of robes, not even the faint hum of bioluminescence from the Zapirians. The aliens sat frozen in their seats, their earlier arrogance replaced by something far heavier, understanding. The spotlight remained fixed on Elias Vance as he straightened from his bow, his silver hair catching the light like a worn medal. Grolk, the Vorac ambassador, was the first to move. His armored plates scraped against the seat as he stood, his massive frame towering over the others. His voice, usually a deep, commanding growl, came out hoarse. You knew. Elias didn't flinch. We studied. Vexis, the analytical, her usually pristine data, had forgotten on the floor, rose shakily. Her tendrils, normally coiled in confidence, hung limp. This wasn't theater. This was an interrogation. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Elias let it settle before answering. No, it was a mirror. He stepped forward, his boots clicking softly on the stage. You came here to judge human storytelling, to laugh at our primitive emotions. But what you saw wasn't just ours, it was yours. A Zapirian in the front row, one of the critics who had sneered loudest during the premiere, clutched his chest. His bioluminescence flickered erratically, a sign of distress among his kind. The fall of Vorac Prime, the Purge Wars. Those records are sealed. How did you? Elias cut him off with a raised hand. Humans have a saying, the truth will out. Secrets don't stay buried, not when Teresa's a story to tell. Grok's fists clenched. You mocked us. No, Elias said, his voice sharpening. We honored you. You think war is just strategy and steel, but it's people, it's fathers and mothers and sons making choices they'll regret forever. That's what theater is. That's why you felt it. The silence deepened. Then from the back of the theater, a sound no one expected, a single shuddering breath. The Vorac warlord, the one who had recognized his father's last stand, stepped into the aisle. His massive frame, clad in ceremonial battle-scarred armor, trembled. You showed me his face, the warlord said, his voice cracking. You showed me his eyes. Elias didn't move. Yes. The warlord took another step forward. Then, with a sound like grinding stone, he knelt. The audience gasped. Vorac did not kneel. Not ever. Gralk whirled on him. Get up, this is a trick. The warlord didn't move. No, it's truth. He looked up at Elias, his voice raw. You made me see him. After all these cycles, I saw him. Elias nodded. That's the power of a story. Vexis swayed on her feet. Her voice was barely a whisper. We underestimated you. Elias smiled. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't triumphant. It was tired. Every own does. The doors of the theater, locked since the third act, slid open with a soft hiss, light from the harmonia. Faye's triple suns spilled in, painting the aliens in gold and violet. No one moved. Then, one by one, they stood, not in anger, not in protest. In respect, Grok was the last to rise. He stared at Elias for a long moment, his armored face unreadable. Then he did something no Vorac had ever done in public. He placed a fist over his primary heart, a warrior's salute. Elias returned the gesture, human style, a simple nod. The warlord still knelt. Elias stepped off the stage and approached him. He didn't offer a hand, he knew better. Instead, he spoke softly, so only the warlord could hear. He died well. The warlord's breath hitched. You don't know that. Elias met his gaze. I do. The warlord shuddered. Then slowly he rose. Without another word, he turned and walked out, his armor glinting in the sun. Vexis paused at the door. She looked back at Elias, her tendrils coiled tight. This changes nothing, she said, but her voice lacked its usual bite. Elias smiled again. It already has. Then she, too, was gone. The theater was empty. Elias let out a long breath and turned to his crew, still hidden in the wings. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide. The stage manager, a wiry woman named Leon, stepped forward. Did we just win? Elias laughed, a real, genuine sound. No, we just made them think. Leon shook her head. They'll never let us perform again. Elias stretched, rolling his shoulders. Oh, I doubt that. He grinned. After all, everyone loves a good sequel. Backstage, the crew erupted into nervous laughter. Outside, the galaxy was already beginning to tremble. The news spread faster than a supernova. Within hours of the performance's conclusion, every major comm network in the Federation blared the same shocking headlines. Human theater declared psychological warfare. The Celestial Opera House, once a symbol of cultural exchange, now stood as a monument to human cunning. On Zapirian Prime, High Archivist Vexis the Analytical stood before the Council of Clarity, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with distress. The chamber's walls pulsed with the soft glow of data streams, displaying footage of the performance, human actors reenacting the Zapirian purge wars with terrifying accuracy. This was no mere artistic display, Vexis declared, mandibles clicking in agitation. They knew details even our own historians have forgotten. Classified military deployments, private conversations between long-dead warlords. This was an intelligence operation disguised as entertainment. The Council's telepathic Cerelion representative, Orbix, pulsed with unease. You're suggesting humans infiltrated our most secure archives. Or worse, rumbled Gralk of the Vorac, his armored fists clenching. They predicted our next moves on that stage. My fleet's maneuvers, our secret pacts with the Crix Collective. If they can do this with theater, what else are they capable of? A murmur rippled through the chamber. The implications were staggering. Backstage at the Celestial Opera House, director Elias Vance sipped from a glass of Earth whiskey, his grin sharp as a scalpel. His crew, actors, stagehands, intelligence analysts in disguise, toasted their success. They're calling it a class-phase psychological weapon now, chuckled Mara Chen, his lead actress scrolling through her datapad. Zapirian High Archives officially banned human theater. Vorac warlords are demanding their troops study our plays as tactical primers. Elias laughed. Best review we ever got. A comlink buzzed. Admiral Kessler's grizzled face flickered to life on the holo. Display Vance Federation Council just emergency voted to restrict all human cultural exports. They're terrified. Good work. Terrified is a start, Elias said, swirling his drink. But they still don't get it. This wasn't about scaring them. Then what was it about? Mara asked. Elias' eyes gleamed. Showing them we understand them better than they understand themselves. That's the real weapon. On the bridge of the Vorac Dreadnought Imperator, Warlord Draxus rewatched the play's final act for the 12th time. His second, in command, Kras, shifted uneasily. My lord, the humans recreated our contingency invasion plans for the Leuton system, down to the hour of attack. How? Silence, Draxus growled. The screen froze on the human actor playing him, delivering his speech to the Vorac High Command, word for word, a speech head given in a secure bunker under neural encryption. His claws dug into the armrests. Recall the fleet. But the Leuton offensive is compromised, Draxus snarled. If they know our plans, they've prepared countermeasures. This play was a warning. He exhaled, a sound like grinding stone. Humans don't just fight wars, they script them. 3 cycles later, the Galactic Federation convened an emergency summit. The debate raged for days. We must sever ties with Earth, shouted the Zapirian delegate. Their art is a Trojan horse. And if we do, what then? Countered the Cerelian ambassador. They've already demonstrated they can infiltrate our histories, predict our strategies. Cutting them off won't erase that knowledge. In the shadows, a human observer, plainclothes, unremarkable, smiled. On Earth, in a dimly lit bar in New Shanghai, Elias raised his glass to a hollow screen displaying the summit's chaos. To art, he toasted. His crew echoed him, laughter in their voices. To art. Mara leaned in. What's next, Director? Elias shrugged. They'll ban our plays, censor our stories. But here's the thing about humans. He tapped his temple. Once we've put an idea in your head, you can't unthink it. They'll spend the next century wondering if every move they make is one we already wrote for them. Across the galaxy, in 100 war rooms and council chambers, alien leaders stared at blank screens and wondered if the humans were watching. The curtain had fallen. The performance had just begun.